Things are starting to spiral out of control. This town that I've known since I was a child has gone completely mad. I would go see my parents, make sure they're okay, but I don't dare bring them into this. And there is no need, after all. The Bureau is here now. My colleagues. We will get this situation straightened out. But why do I have a bad feeling about this? I've been exposed. I've seen things. Possibly too much. The government will want to keep a lid on this. I have to stay professional now. Show them that I can be dependent on. They will need men like me in the fight against the communists. And whatever these other things are. Jonas Faulkner will serve his country. Just like Mr. Hoover asked. Yes, sir. This is Red Moon role-playing.
Welcome back to Denton, Alabama. The terror at Makeout Point has spread farther than the initial site of attack. Now the memory of the melting Chip Johnson and the horribly wounded young Susie Wilkins, well, seems like a long time ago. It hasn't been more than a couple of days, but we've now seen alien entities, homicidal humans, potentially worshippers of this gelatinous mass living beneath Denton, a suspect government, and a town full of people who may all wish for our protagonists to die in noble sacrifice to whatever lurks in the caves. Certainly things aren't looking bright and cheery for our heroes Dr. White, B.C. Rosberg and Agent Faulkner. When last we left, the three of them, they were returning to Agent Faulkner's laboratory, secret, hidden on the outskirts of town, to meet up with 3 FBI agents that had caught a plane down to Alabama and made their way to Denton. And so that is where we shall arrive. Just as they're pulling up, they can see a couple of cars, long brown sedans, waiting already in the clearing beyond the laboratory. And the laboratory from the outside is quite difficult to see. It is built like an air raid bunker. There's just a small rise of earth and some steps going down. There's no telling how deep it goes from the outside, but once inside, as Dr. White found, it is quite copious. Of course, the lab has seen its own share of minor disaster when the liquid creature nearly escaped its containment. The agents who should be here are nowhere in sight, so perhaps they've already entered the lab. Let's go to our protagonists and see what they're going to do.
Alright, so gotten out of the car, and BC and Dr. White is here as well, yes?
Indeed. However, just before we arrived, just a few short moments ago, I did, in the back of the car, lean over just a little to BC and lower my voice as I said, "Now, young man, I'm willing to admit that perhaps I've been a little dismissive of you, but you seem to have proven that there is more to you than meets the eye, so let me say this. I don't entirely disagree with Sheriff Reese. While I am willing to believe that our friends are going to help us, that he is correct, and there is a chance that this could be the wrong course. So keep your eyes open, yes? We might not be able to trust these government men coming in, but we might need them. We need to see which risk is the worst one here, if you get my meaning."
And I sit there and I've been sweating. My entire shirt is soaked from the previous encounters that I had, and it's starting to grow a bit cold now as the day grows a little later. And I say, "Sure, Doc. I've been thinking about that myself. I don't know what they want with us now. But I'll be on my guard. I don't know what part of this you're playing, really. What side of this you're playing. But I would appreciate it if you would keep me in some good light."
I shall do my best, young man. But honestly, I'm on the side of the world. Always the world.
And I have been staring out of the window, probably not hearing this conversation more than mumbles, and seeing before me the house we just burned down, and wondering what awaits when we reach the lab. I hope we can make it before the agents arrive, but I see now that we haven't made it. They will know that we have left. This is not good.
And as I turn up the engine and take my steps out of the pickup truck, I feel that my legs are not as shaky as they were before. I'm still in need of a change of clothes, I feel. But I get out, I let the doctor out, and I see the agent start to move up, so I start moving up behind him as well.
All right, well, let us go meet my colleagues, I say, and I start taking the lead, moving towards the entrance to the lab. I suppose I don't see anyone out here then. There's only these, is it 2 cars?
2 cars, yes.
All right, well, let's see what they have to say. I move towards the door, and is it closed, or?
It is indeed closed.
Then I shall knock it and say, "This is Agent Faulkner. I'll be coming in." And then I start opening the door slowly.
You work the lock on the door. It's of course secured for government access only. But you know how to gain entry, and so you do. The 3 of you descend the steps. The lights are on, dimly, as they were before. So clearly someone is occupying the bunker. You hear a voice from down below, where the lab should be. "Don't come any further down!"
Okay.
Stay on the stairs and lock the door behind you.
Yes, I say, and I sort of motion to the others to make their way in. Come on.
Wow, how long has this place been here?
Who knows, my boy, who knows? Still, it seems our friends want our attention, and I will turn to close the door and stand still.
As BC said he was looking around at the place, could you do an integrity and cunning roll, please? I'll in fact call this an investigation, so the more successes you get, the more questions you can ask me, and so on.
And does that give me an initial success then as well?
It does. If you're going to spend some time examining this place.
And what are successes again in this one?
8s and above.
8s and above. No, I don't get any success this time.
Did you roll any 1s?
Nope, I did not.
Well, it's still a failure, so you gain a rewrite for the pool. So no, you do take the place in, and as you narrated, you wonder how long it could have been here without your knowledge. You thought you knew the woods around Denton. But, yeah. What are these government agents up to? The voice calls up from down the stairs again. "Agent Radford has been wounded. How many of you are there up there?"
There's 3 of us.
Has anything followed you in?
We do not believe so.
Okay, you come down the stairs nice and slow, and when you get to the bottom of the stairs, you put your weapons down on the floor and kick them out into the lab.
Is that strictly necessary? I mean...
You do what we're saying. There are things down here we can't explain.
I am I'm a bit surprised by this. It doesn't seem like something a fellow agent would ask me to do. I'm immediately a bit suspicious at this. But I shall start moving down the stairs, and I try to see...
You can see... so are you entering the laboratory to actually have a look? Or are you going to put your gun down first?
I'll try to peek it in any way that I can, as stealthily as I possibly can. I do not wish to sort of get rid of my weapon here. There's too many weird things going on. Is there a way that I can roll for that, then?
I think so. I think a roll would probably be sensible. I think larceny would actually be a good one to use. Implies your sneakiness, and so let's go for that. Larceny and, I think, cunning again.
Excellent. Then I shall roll 5 dice. And I get a single success.
A single success. In that case, what I will give you is this. There are 3 figures down in the lab. You spot them, and you can see from their suited appearance that they are probably agents. If not, they're very poorly dressed for this part of the country. One of them is laying on the ground amidst the clutter of the laboratory. His body essentially propped up against one of the tables. Another one is further into the lab, seems to be examining the wreckage of the containment chamber. The third is stood over the laying down fellow, pointing his gun at the stairwell. It's at that point you hear, "Put the weapon down."
All right. And I put the weapon down, and I do as they ask, feeling somewhat content with at least looking like they are who they say they are, and move in with my hands up.
That's good, that's good. You don't want to give us any reason to question.
I move along after him, both hands up as well. I don't have any weapons, sir.
So you say. I'll pat you down in a second. Where's the other one?
I slowly myself step down with my cane and give them a look of mild annoyance, as if to say, "Here you are, here's an old man, what am I going to do to you?"
He eyes all 3 of you, and then he walks over. His colleague, who's prodding around in the containment chamber, doesn't appear to be paying any attention. The guy laying down, again, doesn't appear to be paying any attention. But the one with the gun cautiously approaches you.
I kind of peer over the shoulder of the agent, looking over to see that guy who seems wounded on the floor. And I say, "What happened to him?"
"I'll be asking the questions, young man." And he pats you down. Does he find anything?
No, not really. Just a couple of keys and a wallet.
He does the same to Agent Faulkner.
Yes, I only have my badge and pack of chewing gum, my sunglasses. I've kicked away the gun. He will also find the extra magazine that I brought with the clip.
He takes the badge out and examines the ID before putting it back in your pocket, and then he pats down Dr. White, no less firmly just because of his age.
Well, he'll find a couple of my vials, currently empty, a couple of vials filled with various little bits of stuff we've been collecting so far, maybe a little bit of other scientific equipment, but to be honest, nothing that couldn't fit in a pocket. My wallet, that's about it.
He says, "What's in the vials?"
Potassium nitrate.
He hands them back to you, and he steps back. He holsters his gun and gestures to the one on the floor and says, "You can pick that up again, Agent."
I do as he asks, yes.
"I apologise for the precautions. As soon as we arrived in Denton, we were warned something like this might happen."
They told you what to expect here, and that there's, well, things are not as they're supposed to be in this town.
They weren't supposed to be as bad as they are now, I'll tell you that. Radford down on the floor there, when we got out of the cars, he was set upon by some kind of sea creature, some kind of amphibious creature. I've heard them referred to as lizard people before, but I'm fairly certain that's not their scientific name. Don't know what they want, what they're looking for. I've stabilized him. He lost a lot of blood. I'm surprised you didn't find the trail up on above ground, but if you headed straight in, I guess that explains it.
I raise an eyebrow a little and remark, did you just very casually suggest, Agent, that there are lizard people? And you are saying this in the most casual manner possible. Seems to be a little strange, don't you think?
Hell, Doctor, I would imagine that if you're armed with vials of potassium nitrate, you're aware that there's some inhuman activities going down in Denton, Alabama.
We are. And yet, we had yet to classify any of them as lizard-like. Although, and I do look to BC, you did mention your anomaly that did seem slightly out of sorts with the other anomalies we've been facing.
Well, for sure, it had scale-like skin like a lizard, long black talons too.
Some of the eggheads back in Boston call them iguanoids, but I don't know. I'm not even in charge here. That's Special Agent Morell over by the containment chamber. The agent over there still hasn't acknowledged you. My name's Jefferson.
Faulkner, nice to meet you.
Again, apologies for the precautions, but there's something else going on here, and this is, I'm guessing what you're aware of. He gestures down at the doctor's coat pocket. There's some kind of body snatcher activity going on here. At first we thought it was a Soviet weapon, deployed after the end of World War II. I brought my paperwork, but it's still in the car. Either way, we thought that the Soviets had deployed some kind of what was at the time called a possession substance. It would make the person who was infected with it turn increasingly communist.
And you just let that sort of transpire?
No, we didn't just let that transpire. We examined it, we studied it, we contained it to Denton.
Alright, so, well, it seems now that people are more or less aware of it here now. Some of them have even started to worship him, starting to make sacrifices for these things.
Not to mention, I believe your colourful explanation is completely, of course, incorrect. You're not dealing with a Russian weapon, Soviet weapon, that gives ideas. You are dealing with something completely different altogether, sir.
Well, I've heard that other colleagues of yours, you'd be Dr. White, I presume, from the age, are making their way down to Denton.
I look a little pleased for once ago. Yes, correct. In fact, I was informed that as soon as they were ready, a memo would be sent to me. I don't suppose that memo has come with you.
I'm not a messenger, Doctor, and you need to be aware that as you are effectively now patient zero, as you've come into contact with this entity, your science buddies are going to want to prod and poke at you when they come down here.
They are more than welcome to try, and I will give them the findings I have come across. But I can assure you, patient zero, not at all. If anything, this entire town could be patient zero.
The three of you fellas, one of you unintentionally, and I'm going to be completely candid here, as Morell doesn't seem interested in the slightest. You're stalking horses. Seeing how deep we can get into this without setting anything off. That's why a government agent was sent down here. That's why a scientist was sent down here. See if they could detect any anomalies, anything wrong. Turns out you didn't just detect it, you might have unleashed it. Something about your being here has made things exacerbate, it's got worse. Well, that was part of the intention, and so now here you are. We were supposed to come down here observe you, but of course then Radford got injured as soon as we arrived, and Morell's been acting funny ever since we stopped off at that gas station.
What happened to him? Do you know?
He lowers his voice, for no real reason other than to be theatrical. I don't know, but he hadn't said hardly a word since we arrived, Even when Radford got ripped across his guts, Morell was more interested in getting down to this lab.
I look over to Morell. Is there anything different about him? Something? Because now I'm getting a little suspicious considering what we've seen before when it comes to imitating and stuff like that.
Oh, let's see. I would think you should go for a composure and empathy, please.
I get a 10 and an 8.
His detachment from everything that's going on is clearly not normal. He has not even signalled your arrival. He seems quite keenly obsessed in the remains, with the remains of whatever was in the containment chamber. And you can see that he is scraping up samples of something and putting them into bags and vials of his own.
But he seems to be working methodically with something that they would be doing. This is the first time I notice, by the way, the mess, or whatever it is that has been happening here.
Mr. Morell, are you a trained government scientist? If not, what on earth are you doing gathering those things you find and placing them into bags so callously?
That's not your concern. And he carries on. This isn't your lab. You're not officially a government employee.
I look to the agent who met us.
You can see he's in a state of confusion, maybe even near panic. Probably all he's been doing since he got here is tending to Agent Radford, who's unconscious on the floor. And now that you've arrived, he is closer to you than he is to Morell. But clearly Morell was his leader, was the operation leader, and without him, Jefferson doesn't seem nearly as capable or confident.
Jefferson, I try to talk in a somewhat hushed voice. We faced a creature that was able to imitate the look of a human. He looked like a boy in town, Chip Johnson. It had taken his shape, and it looked like him, but at the same time, it was not fully formed or something along those lines. It was in a strange state. You said that something happened to Morell, that he was gone for a time. I just want to raise the possibility that, well, perhaps something has happened to your leader.
He's nodding. I had the same thought, but listen, he was only gone for a few minutes. I've read the papers about this Soviet agent, this possession substance. It doesn't work that fast, at least it's not recorded as working that fast. I don't know what's going on with Morell. He headed out to the gas station, picked up some jerky, some soda. Was gone for a few minutes. When he came back, he was quiet. Fixated.
Well, this is interesting. Well, I wonder what's going on over at the gas station then. Maybe that'd be worth taking a look at. And I look at you, Agent Faulkner.
Yeah, well, that's certainly a possibility. I start moving up to Agent Morell as he's doing his investigations.
Hold it right there, Agent. He looks up at you with rather sleepy-looking eyes. Don't interfere with my investigation. There's a reason I'm a special agent.
I have no intention of doing that, of course. I am not going to get in the way of your important work here. But may I suggest that you tend to your teammates? They are looking for support from the leader here. One is wounded and the other is clearly in a state of shock.
If the three of you had been here like commanded, maybe none of this would have happened. How about that?
Well, now, I'm not sure that that's an entirely... Well, it's not an unreasonable thing to say, of course, but this organism, it is loose in this town, and we had to try to contain it as best as we could. I tried during this conversation to somehow glean something from him, having the sort of personal skills that I have and the skills at reading someone. Is there anything that sort of comes across as strange, other than that he is obviously very focused on this? Is there anything that seems just off or not human, perhaps? I have this weird suspicion that again, there's something like what happened to Chip Johnson happening to him.
Could you go for an empathy, and I'll either allow you intellect or cunning in this case.
So that means I roll 7 dice. And I get 3 successes.
Okay, so you've seen someone... Well, you've seen someone in a gestating form as one of these ooze creatures. Certainly... Special Agent Morale doesn't have any of those features about him. He doesn't look unduly wet, and he isn't failing to blink or anything like that, or gurgling at you. If anything, he looks like a resolute, clenched-jawed Special Agent, the kind of Special Agent back in Washington who you would tend to not associate with. People like him get sent on jobs, usually without a team, because they tend to like to do things for themselves and leave as few witnesses as possible.
Sensing this, I sort of back off a little bit. Well, I won't get in the way of your work. I hope you find what you're looking for there, I say, and I move back to Morale and to BC and to Dr. White.
As Jonas comes back to us, I say, well, so it started with us just thinking that it was the family that was involved in this. I mean, the Johnson family. But after seeing how sort of everyone just gathered together at the diner, I'm wondering how deep this goes. In one way, I am worried about my own family, but I also think that I need some straight answers here. Maybe they know more than they've been letting on.
I'm done here. Special Agent Morale zips up his bags, puts them in a case, walks towards you, goes to walk straight past you into the stairs. The 5 of you can secure this location. I will summon help, get a paramedic to come out here, let's say, for Agent Radford. I'll lock the door behind me to ensure that whatever's up there won't get in. Don't worry. I'm sure help will be along nice and quick. And he gives a smile.
My eyes sort of dot between him and the Agent Faulkner as I smile back.
I also give a smile, trying to look as reassuring as I can, as if, yes, of course, everything is perfectly normal here.
Indeed. Of course, just your blood sample before you leave, sir.
As I say, you have no government jurisdiction over me. Anything within this bunker belongs to the state, and that includes my blood. So, I bid you good day, Doctor, and help will be along soon.
Agent, get your gun on him now. This is not a matter of government jurisdiction. This is a biohazard containment area. Your refusal for a blood sample could endanger the entire world. Of course, if you have no problem, then it's not a problem. But if I'm a patient 0, and all of us are patient 0s, I'm afraid, my dear boy, by being near the substance, you are now a patient 0. You can, of course, refuse me, but that, of course, implies that you have ulterior motives. Now, Agent, the gun on him now!
And, I have a suspicion, of course, about this Special Agent. So I don't bring up my gun, but I say, listen to the doctor, he's right, and I sort of take a step towards him. Come now, we must ensure that this thing doesn't get out. It's just a blood test, it'll be over in a second.
He actually rolls his eyes. You want my blood. You 3 losers are gonna be trapped down here for a long time. You're not getting my blood. I'm perfectly safe, because I took precautions, because I read the notes, because I knew what I was looking for. While I'm sorry that Radford got injured, I'm sorry that Jefferson is now down here with you. The 3 of you have come into contact with alien entities. You are what the government styles as encountered. I have taken precautions, therefore I am not. If you disagree with that, take it up with your local congressman. But for me, I will be leaving, and I will be locking the door behind me. And you can train your gun on me if you like. It does not change the fact that this is by Mr. Hoover's orders. Directly. He turns his back disrespectfully and walks up the stairs.
I swear to myself, but I do not pull a gun on a fellow agent, even if he happens to be an asshole.
Jefferson does, and shouts, Come back here, Morell! Come back, you can't just leave us down here! Says, Can and will, and he walks up the stairs.
Are we not gonna be able to go out again, Jonas? Is he gonna... Can't you open it from the inside?
What do I know about this lock? Is it possible to open from the inside, or is it actually possible to seal something in here?
Well, it's a number punch mechanism. It should be the same code to get in as it is to get out. But if he has the authorization to overwrite it, he might know the reset code, which means you're going to be pushing numbers for a long time trying to work out how to escape.
Alright.
You hear ka-chunk of the door as it opens at surface level.
Well, gentlemen, I hope for your sakes that we haven't just let an enemy contaminant lock us down here, where the help arriving will be a village full of mad people who will probably kill us all.
You hear the ka-chunk of the door closing at surface level.
And I sigh and I sit down on one of the chairs. And I just cradle my head in my hands for a bit, shaking my head.
Hearing the door close, I move up quickly. I want to see if I hear anything else.
It's a thick metal door. This was designed potentially to withstand a nuclear blast. But you do, as you head up the stairs, hear a dim bang bang of the gun, of a handgun. And then nothing else.
They're shooting out there. Damn it, I start trying to open the door. This is not good.
As predicted, the code has been changed. He doesn't want you to escape.
I look up and I say, What? They're shooting? And I come up as well.
Yeah, I heard the sound of shots going off. Damn it.
Maybe he was attacked. Can't you open it?
Seems like it's been reset. The code has been reset. I wonder if there's any other way out of here. There must be some kind of emergency exit, something. Certainly there must be some way out of here other than trying to punch the code. Punching the code, how long would that take? How many numbers is it does it take? Is it like a 999?
Well, it's 10 numbers, 1 to 0. And it's a 4-digit code to gain entry, so that's a lot of potential combinations.
That'll take a long time. I'm afraid the main exit isn't going to be particularly helpful for us, but perhaps there is something else down here that we can make use of.
I start to examine the door and its hinges and the lock, like mechanically thinking if there's any way to pick something apart.
Well, it's an electronic lock, so you'd need to find some way of overriding that. The hinge wouldn't help you at all. It would just, if you dismantled that, the door would basically be sealed in place. And most of the workings are out of reach, within the wall, essentially, to prevent that very thing.
Well, that's interesting. I have been working a little bit with electronic locks before, so, and I do have the skill, or the trope, tools of the trade, that I always had the right tool on hand. I happen to have that. Though at this point, I was just patted down, so I don't know if I can find something in the bunker that would satisfy that trope.
I think, as you've got that trope, I would be happy to say that you have what is effectively a very early version of a number scrambler. For things like door codes, for modern safes with number punch mechanisms. For the most part, they are used for the purpose that Morell just activated. to lock things in or lock things out rather than to unlock them. But you think with a little bit of tinkering you might be able to reverse it and perhaps get it to reset a code to something you can choose, like 0000.
I slip that out of my seemingly pretty big wallet, and I say, I didn't think I'd need use of this anymore. Basically took it as a souvenir of one of the skyscrapers that I was working on that sort of abandoned the old locking mechanisms. But I bring that out, and I start trying to connect it to the lock here and see if there's anything I can do.
Okay, while you do that, what is everyone else doing? Well, for Agent Jefferson is pulling his hair out. He's pacing backwards and forwards in the lab. He's clearly panicked, wasn't expecting to be abandoned like this by Morel. Radford, meanwhile, on the ground, is groaning. He's clearly returning to consciousness.
I try to help BC, trying to work together if I can. I have some skills with well, at least mechanical locks. I don't know if that will necessarily help here, but if there's any way that I can help him, I try to do that. He is my friend, and yeah, we are in a tough spot here.
And Dr. White?
I sigh a little, going over to the agents down below and remarking, well, at least one of you had the sense to pull the gun. But honestly, you come in here informing us of a situation where no one can be trusted, and then a man locks us all down here, and none of you do a goddamn thing. No spine, any of you.
Now, Dr. White, there's such a thing as a chain of command, you know, and he is effectively my superior in this situation. I cannot just pull a gun. What do you think would happen?
I think if he was not against us, he would have given a blood sample. You could then have explained you shooting him at the court-martial, whatever. I don't really care for your chains of command, Agent. I care about the truth and the world itself. Your chains of command often get in the way of that exact thing. But never mind, it's done. Let me investigate the sample while you try and get us out. By the way, I imagine the shots were probably him shooting the door from the other side to glitch the panel. That's my guess.
Nah, we'll see about that. Don't you worry, BC can fix anything. I can do it if it is able to be done. I say, just look at me, everyone, and I'll do this, and I'll fix this for us.
Okay, if BC could roll, I think, technology and intellect, and we can have an assist from Agent Faulkner. Now, would we say their relationship would actually allow for an assist in this case? What's Agent Faulkner's relationship towards BC is fairly civil, isn't it?
Yes, school friends. So a 2. So I genuinely just want to help my friend here. We were on the football team together, and I feel somewhat responsible for the situation that we are in. Also, of course, these are my colleagues after all that have gotten us locked in down here. So.
Okay, so that means 2 additional dice can be added to BC's roll.
Fantastic. 2 more dice. And I got technology 2. I got intellect 4. And since this is one of my archetype skills, and I got a mental flesh wound, I get another extra.
Mm-hmm.
I roll 1 success. A 9.
Okay. Well, 1 success is all you need. The machine clunks, and you think you can reset the code from the inside.
And I feel another sting of sweat breaking through, and I feel the attention is on me, and I say, yeah, just this. Got a favorite number, Jonas?
I'm going to make you roll again to make sure, given that you only got a marginal success just then, to make sure that you can see this through without screwing up the panel entirely.
Yeah.
So, another technology and intellect, but this time without the assist.
And now at least I could say that I'm in the spotlight?
Yeah. I think, right now, the camera is close in on BC's forehead as sweat begins to bead.
And that gives me a 10 and an 8.
Excellent. There's a boop from the door, and you think you could pull it open, or push it open, I should say.
And I take it very gently in my hand, and I nod towards Jonas.
I pull my gun.
Yeah. Okay, you read my mind. I just nod, and I pull it slowly open.
Yes, and I'm leaning towards the wall, trying to sort of be able to peek through and have my gun ready.
As you are doing so, Dr. White down in the lab sees Agent Radford stirring from his unconscious state. Don't fight them! Don't fight them! They just want to be left alone!
I go over, lean down, and remark, "What on earth are you babbling about, man?"
Yara tasig a shuna fucking a Cthulhu. Yeah.
I give him a slap in the face.
His eyes wide, goggling. You don't understand. There's a war going on.
A war? What are you on about? Speak clearly, focus on me, and use your words.
These creatures, these water demons, some call them the oblique, they're at war with the iguanoids all along this coast, invading each other's territory. The iguanoids just want what was theirs, and whenever the oblique come in, they infest humans. When it cut me open, I got a flash of its mind, and yeah, really, Nyalath Atep. And he passes out.
Quick, one of you, give this man some aid, but don't give him any salt water. Keep water away from him, for now.
Jefferson is tending his fellow agent.
And I will, at this point, look above to see the progress they're making. Still fascinating. A war between these two different beings. This situation is getting very strange. Very strange indeed.
You see that they're pushing the door open. Is Dr. White prepared for the outside world to be let in without a plan?
I do not believe I would be focused enough to really care what's about to happen next.
As Faulkner and BC gently push the door open and peer outside to see what's happened, the first thing they spot is a puddle of ichor. It may be described as blood among some creatures, but it's not the healthy reddish purple or even the dried brown of old blood. This is a bluish green, like tar, thick, and a trail of it leads out into the woods. One of the cars is missing.
No human blood?
Nope.
So he didn't shoot the lock after all.
No, something was here.
Something, yeah. What were you saying down there? I call down to the others in the bunker.
He needs help! He needs help! Says Jefferson.
I nod to Jonas. Is it time to do another patch job?
I suppose so, and I start heading down, assured that at least there doesn't seem to be anything up there waiting for us, and the agent is gone. So I move down to try to help Jefferson and Radford.
Okay. Let's go for a medicine and intellect roll, please.
And because we've done this before, I have a keen interest in showing Jonas that I'm actually better than him at doing this, because I've been reading in some medical journals and stuff, skimming some popular magazines rather, but I'm gonna try and prove to him that I can do this better than him, and that in that way I'd like to use my relationship of rivalry and help him in that way, sort of trying to take command a bit.
Yeah, I like that. You're essentially trying to show him that despite his suit, his city slicker ways, you still have the touch that's needed here. You can gain 2 additional dice for that.
I roll 5 and I get 2 successes.
Okay, 2 successes. You can see that the wounds are very similar to what happened to Susie Wilkins. It's again long scratch marks. The difference here is where the creature cut Agent Radford across the midriff, it has clearly got into his internal organs. The patch job that Jefferson was able to do was pretty impressive given the short amount of time he's had. And no doubt the amount of panic going on, but it doesn't stop the fact that this guy has had his guts cut up, essentially. So it's likewise no wonder that Radford is feverish and quickly descending into shock.
We need to get him to a hospital. Jefferson, you did a good job getting him stabilized, but he's not going to last long if he remains here. We need to get him into the car and get into town. See if we can get some help at the sheriff's station. Maybe get an ambulance over here.
Well, what was he saying before he passed out? I looked to the doctor.
Hard to tell. However, he might be onto something. He suggested that the 2 life forms we have experienced so far may actually be at war with each other. Possibly the reptilians versus the creatures of the ooze, if you will. He, of course, then implied what we have already been inferring, that the oblique, as he called it, its main form of existence is to spread to other organisms and replicate them. This is something I had thought possible for some time. I was going to do some actual experimentation, but I do not know if we're going to be able to do that in this current climate. So I would have to simply guess and say that I do believe what we saw of Chip Johnson was the beginning of such a stage of transformation that we interrupted. Perhaps if we had given in to the father and come back a few hours later, we would have had a complete Chip Johnson individual.
I suppose we've done well under the circumstances then, I suppose. We found blood upstairs, outside. It's, yeah. I think you'd better see it. It doesn't look human.
And I look around. Is there a stretcher around here?
I think it's fair to say there would be a stretcher in here.
And I start to unfold that so we could start to get the agent on it.
And I help out, and we start to move him out, and I try to reassure Agent Jefferson, just trying to calm him down, trying to be the leader that he was missing, if you will.
Wonderful. You give Jefferson some aid. You get Radford up the steps. Which 2 of you are carrying the stretcher, sorry?
I think that's me and Jonas, perhaps? Unless you're telling the other agent?
No. I tell Jefferson, though, to have your gun ready. They fired upstairs, and there was some kind of creature skulking about, so we had better be on the lookout.
You reach it to the surface. Once more. All is calm there. There is no rain, no wind. The trees around are perfectly still. That patch of blood and trail leading into the woods is still there, as is the other agent's car, and your own. But there doesn't appear to be anything living up here.
Well, it looks somewhat safe then, I suppose. Under the circumstances, what do you say, boys? Should we head into town, or should we try and find this thing that has moved off into the woods?
Running after hostiles in the woods is a ridiculous idea. However, you have to consider something, Agent. Take him into town. You're aware that we've just been informed by BC that taking this poor man into town could be the most dangerous thing we do. We could potentially have an entire town, people we cannot trust, who any moment could turn on us.
Well, there's technically not a hospital in Denton.
No, but there is the sheriff's station, and, well, there is some kind of nurse's station there. We could perhaps get the ambulance to come there. I trust the sheriff. He's a good man.
So these things are at war with each other. And I start helping to get the stretcher sort of up the, I suppose, on the pickup truck, or do you take the other car?
The best thing here would be what? Yes, is the agent's car. Is it one where we could perhaps lay him down in the back seat and me and Jefferson could perhaps take him to the sheriff?
And I continue as I help you doing this. They are at war with each other, and people are getting caught in the crossfire, and the town people are sort of thinking that they are choosing a side here, perhaps.
More than likely, they are infected by the Denzian, the Oobleck, and are becoming its thralls. Or maybe they are Oobleck. I know it's a silly name, but it has a ring to it. I think that's what I will classify the creature for now.
Yeah. So what are we gonna do with them all? I mean, if they're doing that, and we're just gonna get in the way, I mean, everyone's going mad, and I feel like, I still want to see my family about this, but...
I suppose it all depends, and I turn to the agent Jefferson. Maybe your superior is simply an asshole, so to speak, and locked us in there so that further experimentation could be done on us. Is he actually going to be bringing any actual help? That's the question. What do you think?
I don't know, Doctor. Our orders were to contain you and the site. And obviously things went slightly awry. The idea was to get the three of you zipped up, not murdered, you understand, but contained and brought back to Washington for a certain experimentation, given your contact with the alien entity and lucidity enough to send us those memos.
My goodness. Are they even remotely aware that they have an entire town of people here for that sort of thing, and they choose the people investigating it? Your government's so ridiculous.
And apparently it wasn't important enough to actually take us in, but just to leave us there as he went on some quest of his own.
We have already conducted research. The entity is harmless if you are not exposed enough to it. That is why I have made the blood sample tests. I would be willing to share it with you, but I can tell you now, off the top of my head, that the entity itself cannot properly coexist with us unless it has substance behind it. Mere samples or traces can actually be fought off by our immune systems.
Well, that as maybe. But the reason the three of you are going to be taken back to Washington and not just some people from Denton is because you'd been studying it. There was what was called 2 wins in 1 back at head office, as they say. We had people that had investigated it with some answers and some conjecture, but we also had people that had come into contact with it and knew how to fight it. And that sounded like a good enough idea to extract you from Denton after you'd been exposed to it for a little. We could get 2 wins from 1, whereas just taking Joe Q. Public off the street and snatching him away to Washington, that's not going to tell us much of anything. I'm sorry. I was following orders as Special Agent Morrell said. These came from Hoover himself.
And I nod to Agent Jefferson. I fully understand, of course. We follow orders. We do what we do for our country.
I don't know what Hoover's plan is for the rest of Denton. Whether this is just going to be kept locked in like some petri dish to poke around in, or whether they just plan on burning the town out and everything within it. I guess it's whether they feel any of the samples are viable and whether it's worth experimenting on and whether the people are worth saving. And I can't believe I'm saying this about my own fellow Americans. There ain't many more red-blooded Americans than living in Denton, Alabama, but it's a decision much farther up the chain than me.
And I think back to the war, to to the orders that would come, where units would be sent in to be slaughtered, essentially, to achieve some pointless movement on a map. And I think that, yes, that is entirely possible, that is what will happen here. It is part of some war that they're fighting. Probably not the Soviets, something else. And I become increasingly worried for my family. And I look to BC. We have to make sure our families are safe, BC. We have to get them out of here.
I've been looking at the both of you and we've been talking quite deep in thought. But yeah, I look up and I say, yeah, so we get this one to the sheriff's office and then we go look after our families?
Yeah, we have to do that. We have to take care of our own, BC.
Yeah. I still wonder if they know something that they haven't let on.
Yeah, there's that risk, to be sure.
I give both of them a little sigh and go back to speaking to Agent Jefferson. Well, unlike my friends here, I have no care for any of the people in this town particularly. However, I pause, that does not mean I wish for them all to be doomed. The question is, I'm afraid I don't know if I can just wait around either. By what you say, if I do, I am simply going to be carted off as a medical experiment, despite being the most knowledgeable person on the pathogen itself. Ridiculous. Maybe I'll tag along with you fools for now. But I don't see what it's going to do to help, by the way. Say you get your families, make sure they are safe. What are you going to do then? Run away?
No, this town, it's not my home, but there's good people here. We've met good people, and we have to make sure that they're safe, and we have to make sure that they live through this. That's on us now. We're the only ones who can do that.
You make your way to the sheriff's station, I assume.
Yes.
With the injured Agent Radford in the back. When you arrive, it's a different sight than when you last left. The door is open. The lights are on, but there's no buzz of activity within.
Hello?
As you look within, you can see Sheriff Reese is laying out on the floor. Karen Johnson is still in her cell, but old Jack is gone. So Susie Wilkins.
Holy shit. And I go over to look over the sheriff.
As you pick him up, he starts coming back to consciousness. Oh, God. Something came in and hit me.
It hit you? Where? And I look him over.
He's got a nasty-looking swelling on the back of his head. I can't see straight.
And I try to get him sat upright.
Thank you, partner. Oh. This goddamn town. There was a whole bunch of them. A whole bunch of people. They were outside. They were demanding Susie.
Yeah.
And obviously I locked the doors. I tried calling my deputies. They didn't do much, the people outside. At first, they were just calling for Susie. And I saw my deputies arriving by car. I saw the flashing lights. I was hoping they would be able to disperse the crowd. But they goddamn mobbed them. They took them. They just beat them down. I don't know where they are now. They ain't in the road. As far as I can see, he squints to look out the window. And they're not there.
And did you say Susie's still here, or?
Old Jack went out and he started speaking to them in some language I didn't understand.
He did?
And they didn't even stop for him. That's when he left, trying to talk him down. They just poured into this place. And I can't see Susie around, so I'm guessing they got her and they left us with that thing. He points over at Karen in the cell.
What does she look like? Normal?
No, she looks dead. She has blood all down her face and chest. If you recall, she was suffering nosebleeds beforehand.
Oh, wow. And I see that now and I walk over. What happened to her? Did she just have some kind of seizure?
She kept suffering nosebleeds saying she needed help, but God, I don't know, I have my hands full with so many things, and I know that ain't no excuse, but I'm no doctor. Oh God, I see you brought another patient here.
Yeah.
I was trying to tend to her when all this hubbub started outside. Now I see she's... well, it looks like she's dead as well.
And, I suppose I see this as well. Well, we obviously cannot give Agent Radford any care here. We need to find some other place. Sheriff, is there anywhere we can go to get him help? Are there any doctors around here? Anyone you think we could trust? Anyone that could help?
Well, there's a couple of town doctors, but who knows whether we can trust them at this point. I don't know, when I called in the paramedics the first time, I got all kinds of reticence over the phone. As soon as I started describing injuries, symptoms, and all the rest of it. And now, just when all this was kicking off, I was hearing over the radio that roads have been shut down leading out of town. I don't think help is going to be coming in to us from outside. So sure, you could go to a town doctor like Haysmith or one of the others, but I don't know that they're not going to be just as loopy as the rest of them.
Damn it. Well, I look again to Agent Radford. If he was left, what do I think? Is he going to be able to survive for a few hours at least, or a day? Is he in critical condition?
If he survives 24 hours, it's going to be, well, very fortunate on his part.
Alright, well, I don't see that we have much of a choice. I look to Jefferson. Sheriff, what... will you stay here, or do you want to come with us?
Well, there's no one for me to protect no more, so I guess I gotta come with you, but here's our options as far as I see them, fellas. I don't think we can win a war against the people of Denton, Alabama, and I don't know how we're gonna tell the mad from the sane. Which means we gotta face the option of trying to get our injured out of here. Maybe rescue my deputies if we can find them. And in terms of getting out, there's only two ways I can think. We either take the road... well, let's make it three. We either take the road and try and use our credentials to get past whoever's blocking them off. Obviously, I see you got a couple of government agents with you now. And there's myself. But I'm guessing that if they want to seal the place off they're not going to be choosy about who they're sealing in. We take the wilderness... try and get out of this part of Alabama by making our way through the swamps and the fields, or we go out by sea. Commandeer a boat, try and make our way to Louisiana, maybe.
Well, at least that way, surely they don't have it blocked off by sea as well, but then again, these things seem to live close to it.
It's risky, but I think the sea is the only way to go. There's less risk of being... yeah, it feels like our safest option, but is there anyone here who can drive a boat properly? Are you a seaman? Do you have experience from that?
There is, of course, a third option that none of you are considering. Of course, I'm not surprised.
What?
All your options basically boil down to run away. There is another option. We do not have much time. Might be a fool's errand, but to be perfectly honest with you, I do not believe we can run away. I believe every single running away plan you come up with would be met with resistance, force, and, in this case, death. For I do believe that if the government are locking down this area, they will kill any who try to leave. It's how they operate. No, the other option is deal with the problem.
How do you suggest we do that?
You see me mulling this over. I am pacing back and forth, tapping my cane. Well, first of all, I am extremely irritated, but I must confess there is no longer any time to actually analyze the problem for the benefit of the world. The government have forced our hand, as have the townspeople. Therefore, as much as it pains me to say it, Maybe if we could find a way of destroying the Oobleck. Maybe even finding these lizard people. In both the encounters we have had with these individuals, they have attacked but not killed. In fact, didn't you say, BC, that the one you encountered you scared off?
Yeah, that's what happened. I just shouted at it, and it ran away. It didn't seem aggressive. It was looking at me. It could be true. It could be that they are not looking to hurt us unless we attack them first.
Indeed. Now, let us again hypothesize, and again I admit this is all theory, which I dislike working in, that all of this activity has been based around the caves. It seems until this point, it's been contained to the caves. This could mean that the center of activity is the caves.
At least for those ooze-like creatures, that seems to be the cave, yes? But the lizard people, that was a road, and now the forest, right? Close to the lab.
Yeah, they seem to have been venturing a bit further up.
Indeed. Now, let us hypothesize again that if somehow, from what we've seen of the Oobleck, remember how potentially explosive it can be. We found the chemical components that cause a genuine reaction in it. Keep in mind as well that maybe it is not many beings but one. Maybe, again, I know I really wanted more experimentation time, but maybe the way they worship it, yes, that doesn't come across as an individualistic society. That comes across as a society that gives to a greater self. They wanted to feed PC to it. They wanted to feed people to it. Maybe it isn't it itself a main body that controls the other ones. While I'm saying all this, I'm very much agitated, confused, almost talking to myself. Maybe if we could enlist the help of these lizard beings in their war, and somehow work a way of destroying the Oobleck. If we could remove the problem, the government might realize that the issue has been dealt with, at least in some manner, that doesn't involve killing everyone, and that could be a better chance than just running away.
Well, it still doesn't solve the problem with the injured agent.
No, but God, man, the guy's going to die. We have to think of a whole town of people here.
And I'd sort of hush towards Dr. White because he's close by, and certainly Agent Jefferson's. Come on. No, we're gonna save him. We're gonna make sure that he lives through this. Alright? But I like your idea. I don't like running away any more than you do. And I look to Sheriff. We didn't run away in the war, yeah? We fought. And we can fight here, but we need to fight smart, and I think the doctor has a point.
Yeah, we're gonna fight a war? I look strangely excited to this as I raise an eyebrow. We're gonna fight a war here. Against the citizens of Denton, I suppose, as well as these oblique, like you call them.
Yes. And we're gonna win this war, but to win a war you need allies. Let's go find this creature, these lizard people. Let's go find the one that was injured. I think if we can help that one, perhaps, just perhaps, we can become friends with them. I say, and I think how insane all of this is, but this is the world, and the world has been insane for a long time.
I look to Sheriff Reese, and I say, well, Sheriff, to be honest with you, even finding the thing probably might actually combine with your idea of simply finding a way of escape, but surely you're an intelligent man. There's no escaping this, even by sea. A plane will spot us and probably shoot us down, if it's that important, and I do believe the government are taking this very seriously.
Very well, then. Your argument was compelling, I'll give it that. As it has been since you arrived in town, all three of you. And there's a part of me that wonders how much of this is, well, frankly, your fault. But I'll tell you this. Just as we didn't retreat during the war, except in some circumstances, we didn't just do full-on assaults with everything we've got. Yes, the idea of your lizard man And he seems very incredulous despite everything that's gone on. Is a good way to maybe win some allies. But I agree with what Agent Faulkner is saying. We can't let another person die here. And I extend that to my deputies. I extend that to Susie Wilkins. And while there may be some of you that want to go down and fight this oblique down in the caves, my responsibility, if we're staying here, is to rescue the people that can still be rescued. So I don't know who wants to come with me. If any of you do, or I'm going to be stuck with this new agent about town, then that's fair enough. But I'm going to try and find my deputies, and I'm going to try and find Susie Wilkins, and try and rally whoever I can who isn't obsessed or possessed by this stuff.
That sounds like a plan, Sheriff, and I look to Agent Jefferson. Jefferson, why don't you go with him and help him out? Myself, BC, and Dr. White will see what we can do about finding some allies. We'll meet up, and we'll win this thing.
Yeah, I'll help out wherever's necessary. I go either with you or the sheriff. It's, either is fine by me. I'm sure I can be an asset.
As the two parties split off, going in their separate directions, the sheriff and his crew heading into town, the others heading back toward the woods, where the stain of blood led deep into the tree line, and where the iguanoids might dwell. We will leave this episode.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we played the campaign Terror at Makeout Point, for They Came From Beneath the Sea. Our Game Master was the Gentleman Gamer, Matthew Dawkins, who also created the game. They Came From Beneath the Sea is published by Onyx Path Publishing, and we would like to extend a big thank you to them and to Matthew for doing this actual play project with us. The music for this episode is taken from the Cryo Chamber collaborations Cthulhu, Yog-Sothoth, Azathoth, Shub-Niggurath, and Nyarlathotep, and is used with permission from Cryo Chamber. Please check out cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for more of their lovely dark ambient. Finally, a big thank you to all of our Patreon backers. Creating all of this content would not be possible without your generous support on Patreon. You give us loads of energy, you help us cover our costs, and you open up time for us to record and edit. So, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you ever so much. See you again soon.